right. So who are you hearing Gerard Mayo could be interested in, if anyone, for the offensive coordinator's job for the Patriots?
Again, like I think this is going to be a wide open search. I think he's going to be looking at a lot of different options here, and to me, I think the obvious place to start looking is in the McVay Shanahan tree, and there are a lot of good names, and there are some names with some connections to the Patriots. Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator in Seattle the last 3 years. He actually got his start in New England and then came back in 2009 as the tight ends coach. And he's since then been sort of ingratiated into the Shanahan McVay system. And I mean, the history behind it is like, if you know what Mike McDaniel was for Kyle Shanahan, in all of these different spots, he's the one coach that Kyle brought everywhere he went. He almost became like the other side of Kyle's brain, and such a great resource to him. And that's why, Mike was so well respected with that family of coaches. Well, Sean saw that, when he was in Washington, he wanted his own guy like that. So that guy wound up being Shane Waldron for him. And so Shane wanted to call it a few years ago. He goes to Seattle to go call it. And obviously he's done a really nice job in resurrecting Geno Smith's career and developing young players. So he would be one that I would have like at or near the top of my list if I were Gerard. Zach Robinson played quarterback for the Patriots for a short time. He's the pass game coordinator there with the Rams. He's interviewing for the Bears and Saints jobs. Brian Fleury is an interesting name. He's sort of in the spot that Bobby Slowick was in San Francisco. And he's a guy who I think is the next one on the way up. And then Nick Caley, somebody who was next in line to be coordinator. Now, I think things went a little sideways when he didn't take an extension here when it was offered him a few years ago. But he's really, really well respected, within that Patriot family of coaches. And now he's got a year having worked for McVay in Los Angeles. So, there's a good number of names of young guys that you can look at. The question, I think, for Gerard becomes, at some level of your staff, you want to have someone with a lot of experience, and where are you going to put that in your staff, right? So if it's not the offensive coordinator, right? Like if it's not Bill O'Brien coming back, who's been a head coach in the NFL, where do you have a guy who can kind of be your resource and be the experienced guy for you? That, I think, is the question. If you're not going to use that for the if you're not going to use the offensive coordinator job that way, where there is that guy as the offensive coordinator, I think whether it's the assistant head coach, whatever it is, you probably want to have a guy in your staff who's done it before, who has experience, who can be a resource to you in that way too.